All right, that is green light for nerds.
Get those nerds! Nerds!
Yes, there's nothing like a Monday morning and a little bid nerds getting yelled at by our little bid nerd stinger there. Good morning, everyone. This is a Monday edition of I almost called it Bird Nerds. Our friend Tony from 900 series always calls us Bird Nerds because he's a bird nerd. I don't know. We are bid nerds. This is your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day on cars and bids and bring a trailer. My name is John Polnik, and I am coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada, right on the Las Vegas Strip. The Las Vegas Strip is like right there. It's like, I mean, we were talking, I could just I could leap from my deck and splatter all over which has probably happened. Anyways, Michael Deeb coming to you from San Francisco Bay. Good morning, Michael Deeb. How are you? You were just here yesterday.
Amazing.
Glad to see you made it back. Yeah.
Oh, dude, it was that was fun. What a great show. I it's just amazing. Even in the winter when the Vegas people say it's damn cold outside. It was like 45 degrees at kickoff for the Cars und Cafe at the Good Wolf. But man, what a turnout of cars. It's incredible. It's so funny that, even after what you've been doing it 4 years now?
We're going on 4 years. Yeah.
I mean, year 4. 4 years you've been doing it, and then there's still like 2 Porsches show up, and you're like, I never saw that car before. Whose car is that? Where is that guy? Who is it? It's amazing that they keep finding us, man. Or you, I should say. It's great.
Well, no, it's true. We do this monthly car show in the Arts District, and it's all about classic Porsche. It's a little mini Luftgekühlt kind of thing we call it, and it's just people just show up, and this is not people that think Vegas is a big glitchy huge city. If you're not from here, what you realize when you actually are when you move here is that there's the Strip, and then there's basically
everything else.
It's all just strip malls and stamped out houses and neighborhoods, and then sand. Right? That's it. It's like living on an island. And it's just a big town. That's all it is, with a bunch of neighborhoods. It's not a very big city at all.
It's super suburban, and it's a really big small town because
it's like urban sprawl.
Once you meet 3 people in Vegas, you're like 1 or 2 degrees from anybody in Clark County. It's great. And the community really does help each other. I'll say this to everybody Esther and I talk about. Shortly after we moved to Las Vegas in 2017, we had the terrible shooting on the Strip, and we were in the community and privy to the galvanization of the community because of the tragedy. And that was incredible. And man, that really shaped our opinion, our attitude towards Las Vegas, and we love it. So I have a quick question for you.
All right.
You brought out the Targa, the Marlboro Menthol Targa that I know you're planning to bring to market. But yesterday was kind of its debutante ball, and the car was parked in front of the Good Wolf. I already have my own opinion about the car, and then Esther and I were busy catching up with people. How well was the car received? Did people lose their mind like I assume they did, or did people come and shake their head, going, "What in the hell is that thing?" How did the Cars and Cafe, the Baby Luft community, receive the Targa SC slant nose Marlboro rally car? Polnik
menthol. She's the menthol. No, she was in fact the belle of the ball. Everyone loved her. Of course, there were certain people that just don't get it. The normies don't get that car. If you're a pleated pants Porsche PCA person, you're like, brr, 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 brr. It just makes their brain melt a little bit. But anyone, I mean, it's basically a rolling troll, right? I mean, the car is just there to just piss off people that you want it to piss off, and just excite everyone. If you don't get if you don't look at this car and just go, "Oh my God, that is just
amazing,"
awesome, even though it's all kinds of effed up, then you're just not our kind of people, right? So if you don't like the car, we know that. All right, you go in this little circle over there. That's you're now relegated to lame land. The car was just terribly fun to have people see it.
What did Solomon think? Solomon's pretty funny. He's definitely, and he's opinionated, which I love him for. He's super high on air cooled, but I wonder if something as unorthodox as the Targa would
Solomon is like a hybrid. So for those of you who don't know Solomon Braun, he is the Pope of the Porsche, or not even Porsche. He's the Pope of the car scene in Las Vegas. If you don't know Solomon, you're not into cars. He was the originator of Cars and Coffee Las Vegas, the actual official Cars and Coffee. Him and his lovely wife Jackie did it, ran that for 10 years, couple. 12 years, in Las Vegas. So
great show.
Everybody knows them. So, and they're obviously big Porsche. He is currently the president of the Porsche Club.
Yep.
Somehow he is a hybrid between that pleated pants brigade of Porsche Club people and the rest of us. He lives in between this space. He's somebody that brings everyone together. And no, he does not understand the Targa at all. He does not get it. He's like, we were talking about what we thought it was worth, and he's just like, what? What? No, he's asking.
So funny. Yeah, I can totally see that throwing him off his axis just a little bit. And like, I don't get it. What?
This is definitely not his speed.
You did all that to that car, and it's worth more money. And they're like,
him. And then there's our friends like Rami, who has just a bunch of money and no taste. And he's like, are the stickers helping? Are they even helping? I don't know, man. I don't think are they helping? Yeah, it's like you said the joke 4 times. I get it. Yes. Okay. Haha. Funny. I don't know if they're helping. They're probably making it worse. They're holding it together. Keep going. Wait. No, are they helping? Yeah. No, Rami. So but what an asshole. When he first saw this car, we were at German Motors trying to, because it was in pretty poor shape when we got it. He walks in with his dog and puts his dog on the hood. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Sorry for the F-bombs, kids. Rami, if it's not like right out of the wrapper and brand new and 6 figures, it must be crap. So thanks, buddy.
That is Rami in a nutshell.
It really is. Oh, we love the guy though. Yeah, it'll be, the funny thing is because he has that crazy wide body, all black, 930 turbo. And the only car that's louder than mine, than this car below us, because it's loud, is probably his car. And his car is definitely not stock. I mean, it's got holes.
That car's high maintenance because it feeds on a steady diet of clutches. I mean, Rami just
feeds it. It's like throwing a live cow into a freaking alligator pit. I mean, it's just like every time he steps his foot on it, it's like frenzy, and everything blows up. Oh my god, needs to be fixed again. So, but that car's so sick. Anyways, all right. So there it is. We were talking about Cars and Cafe. Thanks for indulging us, guys. It is Monday, so we're doing that catch up thing. Let's get to the cars. What we do on this show is we talk about the most interesting cars of the day on Cars and Bids. Bring a trailer, P-Car Market, whatever other auction sites seem to be springing up. We are excited about Rad for Sale. It's coming, but we do make predictions about these cars, what we think they're going to sell for, and we go over those predictions, and we check ourselves before we. Right. Well, I'm not going to say it. So yeah, we do pay attention. We do keep track, and we're not very good at it. That's what we've determined. It's the one thing. Sorry, Deeb, you were going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to ask: is today day one where Rad for Sale will be listing their first car? Is that?
Yeah, today is launch day, and I did check the site and did not see anything there yet. So I'm not sure. That was one of the things I meant to ask Bradley.
I'm sure they're working out the bugs and all that. It's not easy. It's so hard to launch. I mean, good God.
Bradley Brownell from Rad for Sale will be our third nerd on Thursday. We have confirmed that booking is happening. So they should have launched by then, and they'll be 3 or 4 days into it, and we'll get an update from them then. But let's get to last week's cars. So not just last week's, but last Friday we had our 5 cars of the day, and the big car of the day was this just absurd shocker. This off-road Safari 997.
Look at that thing. So cool.
I love this car, but what the F, Deeb? What happened? Yeah. What is going on?
Oh, this car brought all the money, man. I mean, do you talk about like unearthing a formula? You literally, we spent a lot of time on this car, and you were literally live in the moment without a net, just figuring out. You were like, okay, you could buy one of these cars for $45,000 tops. And then you're like, this car's got $20,000 worth of equipment on it tops. And then I tried to play along with you, and I said, okay, let's say he paid retail for all the labor. That's another $20,000. So you're in it, 45,000 and 45,000. So, this thing could be 90 grand full retail. You could replicate this car. And that's if you were a fool. You should be able to do it for a lot less money than that. We were struggling to see how this car was easily going to break $100,000. So anyway, I said 100 grand. You said 98 conservatively because it didn't add up. You're like, why would you pay a premium for this car when you could go build your own and have it custom made? Anyway, this car, JP, sold for $121,000. One of the first 997 Safari style vehicles we've seen. Obviously a great motor. Right. Yeah, great motor, great transmission, and probably a fantastic platform from which to go play around, not on the rocks and stuff, but certainly, if you're going to be on a dirt road or a dry lake or, maybe out in the snow on a frozen lake, this would be a blast to drive.
It's a rally car. I mean, it's not a technical climber. It's a rally. It's a safari. Yeah. It's overlanding, but not, well, it's not overlanding because overlanding is more of a technical thing, but I mean, you could just haul ass through the desert in this thing and look cool and then drive it around in the city. And the attention to detail on this was not
the rhino
overlooked.
stickers.
It was just this thing is really, really well done. But still, $120,000 just. I mean, so what do you think? Should I take the menthol car and should I go throw another 20 grand at it and lift the sucker up and change the suspension, put tires on it and stuff? I mean, we haven't seen a Safari Targa slant nose wide body yet.
JP, we're not very plugged in and we don't do our research, but according to the math, yes, you should.
If we follow the science, that would be the answer here.
Absolutely. You should throw more than 20 grand at it. I don't know.
My gosh, yeah.
Wild, absolutely wild. But anyway, a great car. It's an interesting emerging genre, which I think you and I are both tickled to see somebody doing something so creative with old 911s. And this is, a newer old 911. And I mean, wow, I definitely would love to own that thing. I'll say that. I would. I really would. That's so cool. Staying with the Porsche thing, we jumped over to P-Car Market and we looked at this 1969 911E. Nice car, not a perfect car. This is not a show car. This is not a six-figure car by any stretch. I said 80 grand. You bet the under at 78. This car was bid to $82,500 and did not sell at that price. JP, do you remember? If you have it up, can you see what it's listed for in the what do they call it? It's like the bid goes on when they keep selling the car.
Oh, the deal tank. Yeah. Let me see, guys. Yeah.
See what it says. It should say it's available in the deal tank. I'm curious to know because that gives you an idea of where the reserve was set.
Yeah. Why don't you keep talking about the car and I'll see if I can find it.
Anyway, Polo Red, an E is a nice car to have. 69's the last year, the 2-liter, but one of the first years, the longer wheelbase. I do actually believe these cars were equipped with mechanical fuel injection, and they're a great platform from which to have a lot of fun on. You're talking.
What did you say it got bid to?
$82,500 according to your notes.
Maybe I. Final bid. No, get this. This is absurd. The final bid was 82.5.
Yep.
Buy now for 83.
Oh, that's ridiculous. I mean, come on,
dude! You didn't sell the car for $500. I mean, one thing I know about P-Car Market, unlike the other auctions, so like BAT or Cars and Bids, the only interaction that you get with those guys is when you're setting up the ad, and once the ad is final, you pretty much don't hear from the platform until it's sold, right? No. P-Car Market is a lot more active and a lot more like a traditional auction site, where if they're seeing action near the end, they'll try to get you to lower your reserve to try to sell the car. Kind of like some guy will come up to you at a Barrett Jackson if you're selling your car, and those guys will be in your ear all the whole time. So the fact that they were $500 short and didn't sell it makes me just go.
It's absurd. Get on the phone. That car should have been sold last week. It should not still be on their website. You can't possibly say you're $500 away. The house could take $500 off their commission and make that deal go through. I mean, guys, this is embarrassing. That nobody should see that on your deck, on your platform. That's ridiculous. Make the deal and get that car sold. Make your consignor happy. Make your bidder happy. Even if you guys eat the $500, get that car down the road. That's ridiculous.
Cars and Bids will do that. They say in the small print, it's like we will.
And this is what I've been doing for 4 months with Stratus. Is we run a car, and while we're trying to build the platform and build our audience, sometimes these cars don't make it to their reserve, but then we spend the entire next 48 hours calling all the underbidders to make the deal, which we've been doing. We've been selling a ton of the cars. So that's ridiculous. $500 apart. It should not be broadcast like that. That's like a black eye, guys. Come on, fix that.
Yikes.
So anyways, over on Cars and Bids, JP, we saw a candidate for a Rhino Safari, a 2006 911S Coupe on Cars and Bids. Really nice car. I thought 49. You said 50, and this car sold for 49,500. So
how many miles did this car have on it?
Not that many. I mean, it was pretty fair mileage, JP. I don't think it was a miler at all.
Well, one of the cars that showed up, one of the cars that showed up to Cars and Cafe this weekend was my old car, identical to this one, except for the color. Yeah, I had this car. I had a black on tan version of this car, man, the guy showed up in the car, and I just instantly went, "No, I shouldn't have sold that car."
I love when he was leaving. When he was leaving, JP, he got out on the far driveway and drove across the show, and I was standing next to you and Mikey Hashtags, and as he was rolling by hella slow with his window down, you were like, "Hey, sell me back my car," and he just turned and looked at you, and he kind of laughed like, "You're crazy," and then he like dropped it and just like, "Wow!" and took it off, and I was like, "Oh man, burned."
I was trying to get him to trade for the menthol, but he wasn't going for it.
That's interesting. Oh man,
yeah. Although I think he was interested for a second. He was like. Anyways, I don't know who would have gotten a better deal. I love this car. What a fantastic 997. Not the car to do a Safari though, because of the additional aero ground. Lowers the ground. Right. It's just it's going to be hard to put a brush guard around all that stuff. So this is not the good candidate for that.
But a great car. I love the color. I love the aero kit. And 997s are such a hoot to drive, as you know. So
and a GT3 that looks identical to it is going to cost you twice as much. So
totally,
and not be twice the car. So there it is.
That's all right. For sure.
What's
all next? Right, JP? So we had this really interesting car. Our friend, what's Mr. Myers' first name now? Tell me again. Bruce Myers passed away. I think just in the last 7 days or 8 days. We happened to find a 1969 authentic Myers Manx on Bring a Trailer. JP, this was a great car to take a look at, and certainly sky's the limit, as this car came to market right at the time that Mr. Myers passed away. So a very timely auction. In every aspect that you could possibly imagine, especially being an authentic version of his car. Built on a VW platform, these are great, and they kind of redefined an era when you and I were literally babies or just about to be born. I mean, this is really interesting stuff. I remember seeing cars like this on the beach with a bunch of young people dancing to that rock and roll music and bonfires.
That newfangled,
yeah. When you said TV only had 3 stations and you had to, everybody saw this stuff, and so. This is a guy, along with the Emery family, that really redefined the automobile scene, especially in Southern California. And this car was really spectacular, really nice condition, and kind of a candy apple red. And with VW guts, this is probably a very easy car to keep on the road. So it was nice to see this thing offered at that time. I said 45. I was actually surprised that you bet the under at 44. This car sold for $50,000. Congratulations to the seller and to the buyer. I would not be surprised if these things appreciate a little bit now that Mr. Myers is gone, and certainly there'll be a spotlight shined on a lot of the things that he touched. So there you go.
This would almost make you think that the person this is almost like insider trading. It's like, how the heck did this thing go up for sale on the, because it's not like this thing goes to sale Bruce Meyer died maybe 3 or 4 days before this car closed the auction. So that auction was live 3 or 4 days before he died.
Right.
How the hell did you time that? It's like, I've got this Myers Manx. Let's see here. The guy who originated this car, let's see how old is he. Oh, yeah, he's 90-something. Yeah, maybe we should sell this car right now because he might die while we're auctioning it. I'm sorry to sound morbid, but this is just how does that happen?
Well, holy and then the opposite. I mean, it sounds like in the moment, it sounds like strangely beneficial timing from an equity standpoint, but it's entirely possible that over the course of the auctions later this summer, Myers Manx go through the roof, and if that becomes a 6-figure car, this guy will be bummed he sold it.
Yeah, maybe sold it too soon. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, you never know. So only time will tell. But that's the real deal, and so that's a very interesting auction and very timely on our part to even pick the car because we had selected it before Mr. Myers passed away.
I don't know if that's the case.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think I did select it because
he passed. But anyways, in any case, there you go. The Myers-Manx on Bring a Trailer. One last car, JP, a 1992 Volvo 240 sedan with a manual transmission. Just a plain Jane vanilla Volvo, but really nice condition. That thing looked like it had 30,000 miles, and it had like 130,000 miles. So really neat car. You didn't buy it, did you?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. You were smiling. I was like, wait, did you forget?
Well, this car made me smile more than even the Wonderbug. I mean, I just love this thing.
It's so cool. Anyway, $8,000 was my bid. $10,000 was yours. Strongly over my bid, and you were right. This car brought $11,750 bucks, JP. So on the day, I had 3 wins to your 1, and we had a single draw. But on the week, JP, especially in light of your extremely strong Thursday, JP, you tallied 14 wins to my 10. You also had a Yahtzee. And
did you have a Yahtzee in this week, or did you, or that was at the week?
Oh,
before?
I did. Yeah. Right.
All right,
I did.
It's a rare dual Yahtzee week.
No. I had the Yahtzee last week on Friday,
okay.
So you had one on Tuesday on the 1982 BMW 320. Remember that kid with the orange car that did the drone?
Weird car to get right. That Volvo. I mean, look, you people say that we should do research, and they're absolutely right. If we'd even looked at that ad for more than 32 seconds, we'd have realized that car was actually sold on Bring a Trailer just months before, and it reached 11 something. So it would have taken. You know, if one of us would have cheated and actually done research, we would have known that, oh yeah, this car's definitely worth more than $8,000. But I was hoping it'd be cheap, and I would have bought it if it were below $8,000 because I love that car.
I tell you, if you had a 16-year-old kid that needed a car to go to school, would that not be the perfect car? He gets to learn how to drive. He gets to learn how to roll speed through the turns, because if he brakes, he'll never get out of the corner. And then you're putting your kid in basically a bank vault as far as safety, putting him on the road with a bunch of SUVs. He's got a car, and yet it's a manual, and he can go have fun with it, and he can put some stickers and drive it. I mean, that's
as close to putting your daughter in bubble wrap as you can get on the car. I love it.
Yeah, as far as a 16-year-old male, that's the closest thing to a chastity belt as well, too. He'll never get laid.
A lot of room in that back seat. A lot more than the back of any Hyundai, that's for sure.
He'll have to fight a girl with a
all right, moving on. Let's go ahead and move on to today's cars.
Like his mother.
Yes, so that was last week's cars. Thanks for the recap there. Today we have some amazing cars. Our 5 cars of the day are pretty over the top, and we're starting out with one that makes me just kind of wonder what in the F is going on in the world of car prices, because this one right out of the gate, this does not make sense. I love these cars, always have since they came out. This is a 1994 BMW 850 CSI. Okay, tell us about this car, Michael Deeb, and then I'll tell you everybody why I'm just I'm going to just fall over. Go ahead. This doesn't make any sense.
So this is an E31 CSI, and the CSI was really the closest thing to get an M8 as we were going to get in North America. BMW Motorsport put all the cool stuff on this car. So a little bit more horsepower, manual transmission, limited slip differential, firmer suspension, better aerodynamics. And overseas, these cars came with even more cool performance options that weren't even offered in the North American market. Produced in very limited numbers. In 94, this is one of 225 produced. So these cars were extremely rare. It's offered out of Newport Beach. So it was sold new in Newport Beach and is offered out of Santa Barbara with just 75,000 miles. They're rare to see because there's so few of them. They're really rare to see in low miles because so many people really drove the snot out of them. So to find a black-on-black stick with under 100,000 is a bit an occasion. And as such, prices for these things are starting to go through the roof. Nice ones regularly bring over $100,000, and we have every reason to believe that this one is a candidate to do exactly the same thing. So with just under 2 hours to go, JP, our car is sitting at $90,500 with 2 sets of wheels and 5 previous owners on 20 bids. So, I mean, this car is poised to have a little flurry at the end. Black on black, man. That's the color. What do you think?
$100,000 for an 850 Ci is just absolutely stupid.
Uh-huh.
It's so stupid. The market is just officially stupid. This is like GameStop or AMC or whatever. That's art. What is going? Is there like a bunch of people bidding on these that don't really have any? What? How could this be a $90,000? How could this be $100,000 car? How is that possible? It doesn't make any sense.
$4,000 when it was brand new. So it's not entirely out of the question that they are creeping back up into that value. I will give you this, JP. 10 years ago, you could have bought this car for like $40,000. They were super soft in the marketplace, as are. I mean,
look, you can get the 8-cylinder ones right now. I mean, there are. I know of a couple of them that are under $20,000. Yeah, they have more miles on them, but I mean, you could get a car that looks identical to this and is probably more reliable because it's because it's an 8-cylinder, and not spend six figures, not even close, like 20, 25 for a really nice, was it 840 with a manual or whatever. This thing is just a 12-cylinder.
And there's a theory going around that like this is the basic, block that was used in the McLaren F1, which of course is a multi-million-dollar legendary car. So this was, as BMW made that motor for Gordon Murray and McLaren to make their incredible supercar, this was allegedly, or in some small ways, BMW's version of that car. That was one way of looking at it, and it's carried around that kind of cool cachet its entire life. Again, you're talking about this big grand touring coupe with big horsepower and a manual transmission. There's not a lot of cars on the road like it. It's almost peerless in that regard, but it's by no means a car that you would choose as an alternate to a Ferrari or a Porsche. This car cannot keep up on a back road. It's too heavy. It's too ponderous. It is a bit of a pig as a performance sports car, but as a grand tourer, this is an elite grand tourer. The only body that makes anything even close to this would be like a slightly more contemporary or a significantly more contemporary Aston Martin, which you and I have reviewed several 12-cylinder manual transmission versions.
What about like a front engine Ferrari or something like that of the same?
Yeah, I suppose. It's really not a bad take. At 94, yeah, you could have got a 550 Maranello.
Yeah, who the hell would not want a 550 Maranello with a manual over this thing? For the same price. I mean, because what's a Maranello? What's that cost? 130, 140 grand or something like that? I mean, exactly. and this car is going to be probably, by the time it ends, probably somewhere right in there. You're out of your mind. There is no way. Because look, you're buying something like that. It's a GT car. You're cruising. You're not racing these things, right? I mean, the front engine 12 cylinders is not something that you're taking on the track. So that's something to flex, to go out and look like, hey, I've arrived. I'm badass, right? A 550 Maranello or any front-engine Ferrari is going to trump a BMW of any type pretty much any time, especially this car when there are tons of them on the road that are worth $20,000. There are no $20,000 Maranellos. There's no Ferrari that could be mistaken for, is that the $150,000 Ferrari? Or is that the $15,000 Ferrari? No, that doesn't exist. This car, I'm sorry. I'm just so beside myself.
JP, you sound very upset, so let me upset you a little bit further. This car has 75,000 miles on it. Let me paint a picture for you. If this car was completely stock, like the stock wheels were on it and it didn't have a different shift knob and whatever other little gizmos he did to this car, which are fine, they don't really hurt the car. Yeah. But if this car were just bone stock and had 7,500 miles, and let's say it's at Gooding or RM Sotheby's in August in Pebble Beach, and this car comes up and all those pleated pants millionaires and billionaires are drinking way too much Sauvignon Blanc. A perfect example of one of these cars would easily bring $200,000. Isn't that crazy?
That is nuts.
I mean, the top of the market for these is significantly higher than where this one's at. That's what I'm saying.
I can almost like live with that because at least, those guys would buy something with that low miles and it would never get driven. It's going to a museum. It's a museum piece. All right, fine. You're preserving something for the future that no one's ever going to drive. That's lame, but that equation makes more sense. And I don't even know if it's pleated pants anymore. I think it's like guys that are still wearing Ed Hardy and Affliction shirts. We've kind of shifted into dudes that think they're cool. They're
$400 embroidered jeans.
Right. Guys that go, woo, all day, all the time. It's like, yes, we know you've seen Gas Monkey. Stop with the jewelry and the oh god. Okay, yeah, no, I hate this car because I love it. I love this car, but I don't think it makes money.
The 550 Maranello as the alternate really is interesting because here we go with a car that this V12, which is their best expression of the car, it only makes 375 horsepower, and that same $130,000 550 Maranello makes 500 horsepower and revs to 8,000 plus RPM, and just sounds like an F1 car. Yeah. I mean, it really is no comparison. These prices are a little begooling.
They're bonkers.
Begooling? What's that word?
Bonkers, bananas. Bonkers. You're going for the highfalutin words. I'm going for this is just stupid. All right, where's it going to land? What do we got?
Yeah,
we got a guy
it's on BAT, and it's batshit crazy. So
look at this guy. Look at this guy driving, too.
Oh, my God.
Leaving his hand on the stick.
And he flicks it back and forth with the back of his hand a lot.
Oh my gosh.
JP, explain to our audience why good driving technique is important while you're driving the car. What is
when people watch your video later, they don't think you're just a total douche. Look at this guy. Okay, he's got his left hand. Come on, man. He's got his left hand at 12. I mean, this is just, oh, God. Clearly, really, really, really poor driving discipline. You clearly have never been on a track. You've clearly never done a single DE day. You're embarrassing yourself. You're not a 15. That guy looks like he's a 16-year-old kid with spiky hair who just got a Honda Civic and he's like, got the seat leaned way back. Oh, I'm going to drive. Yeah, I'm cool. I'm going to rent. Oh, God, I'm sorry. I hate this guy.
It's interesting. It's interesting that we caught 30 seconds of video of him driving the car without vaping.
Maybe that's why it's so expensive. Maybe it has a vape machine in the back built in, and it's a. Oh God, you guys, I'm sorry.
All right, JP, dude. I think the hype on these cars is for real. Again, if this were in a little bit better condition, maybe a little less miles, and all the stock stuff was on the car when they archived it with the photos and the video, I think this car had a real chance to be like $120,000-$130,000 car. I do think it's going to suffer a little bit, but I think it will break 100. So I'm going to go big time and say $113,000.
Okay. $113,000. I don't think this car is even worth the 90 that it's at, but I do think it's going to get bid much higher. I'm going to go, what'd you say, 113?
Yeah.
I'm going over. I'm going to say 118. I think it might even get to the 120.
Oh, man. That's so funny. We could turn all over it, and then it could possibly bring
people are saying it's like,
and we'll look silly.
There's a lot of douchebags like the guy that drove this car in the video with money. I mean, there's guys like that have piles of cash right now, and this is exactly the kind of car they want because they want, I mean, dude, learn to drive, you idiot. Okay, moving on. Let's go.
All right, JP,
boy, we're going to get some comments on that one. All right.
Let's jump over. We'll stay on Bring It Chiller, but let's jump over to Austin, Texas, where we're looking at a real Frankenstein. 2003 Porsche 911 Carrera Coupe.
Gesundheit.
I'm allergic to this thing. With a 4-liter. Assuming something happened tragically, this guy punched out his 3.6, right?
Yep.
And bored it out to 4-liter, and then used a bunch of aftermarket internals to create something that I am assuming, by just reading what he did to the motor, this is probably a 400 horsepower normally aspirated 911. It has 138,000 miles on the chassis. But the motor work was done a few years ago. I think it was 2017. And let me see if I can just read a couple of highlights. Let's see here. JE pistons, 997K set, LN engineering cylinder liners, ARP hardware, and an EPS IMS upgrade with IMS tensioner paddle replacement timing hardware and additional replacement components detailed in the invoices. So yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if this car and Max. Oh, here's the deal, JP. Have you ever heard of Max RPM Motorsport of Bremerton, Washington?
Oh yeah, Alex Raphael is a very good friend of mine. I did not.
He built the motor.
That's his
motor. Yeah, he built the motor.
Holy cow, that changes everything. Wow. Yeah, he's legit, man.
I'm guessing this is a 400. Just by reading all that nonsense, this is a 400 horsepower car. There's no way it's not. And if this thing passes smog, more power to you. And those guys at Max RPM Motorsport should be commended. A few little aero upgrades to just slightly warn the fool in the car lining up next to you that your car is for real. In seal gray, again, with about 138,000 miles on it. This car is just reborn and is probably a a wolf in puppy dog's clothing, because it's still a 911 coupe, but I'm sure you're talking GT3 levels of performance in what looks like a vanilla C2 996 coupe. So you could really surprise some people with this car. Not a lot of mention on the suspension. I'm not sure what they did, but I would have to think that if the car is making that much power, they threw some coilovers, and that's about all you'd need because the platform is so good. JP, what do you think of this car? I'm sure you love it.
I love this thing. I mean, it's a coupe. Yeah. It's a C2. It's a 911, and it's built a 4-liter in this thing. I mean, this is a monster. Yeah, okay, Beast. It's got some miles and all that stuff, but if Alex did it, it was done right. I would probably lose that 4-liter stripe as much as I like stickers and stuff.
I'd get the black off the wheels too.
Yeah,
I would go silver.
Breaking up the lines. Yeah, because I mean, if it had the silver MY02 wheels, it would look very much like it would look a lot like an anniversary car. Right. Yeah. So but I mean, those MY02 wheels look good. I don't hate the way this car looks with the stripe and the black wheels, but I think it would certainly pop a lot better. I agree if they were silver or just a different wheel altogether and lose that stripe. But yeah, no, this is the perfect driver. It's really going to come down to what's this thing going to land at, because this is not a car that you would pay all the money for because it's been rebuilt and I think it had an accident and all that stuff. So it's not going to bring but this is the perfect car to just go mob around in and go on professor runs and go travel around and just have a blast with no guilt of racking up miles on something that might be collectible or something like that.
For sure.
Where is this thing sitting at right now?
So it's at 19,996, huh? Get it? It's got about 2 hours to go. And again, the car is offered down in Austin, Texas, despite the work being done up in Washington.
I'm so ticked that this was done by Alex. I wish I had read that. See, I guess P-Car Market's right. We should do more research. Because if I had looked at this, I'll tell you why. Because I could have gotten Alex on the damn show, and he could have talked about this car. Maybe we'll bring him back tomorrow. I'll reach out to him and see if we can get him as a guest tomorrow, and he can talk about what this car was after it was auctioned. All right, so it's sitting at $19,000. How many bids this thing got on it?
Not a ton. I think it was 13 bids. That's not bad. That's pretty good action, actually.
All right,
that's pretty good action. So JP, I'm very conservative here. I think there's another $5,000 in it. I don't think it'll make it to $30,000. I don't know that the community at large appreciates what a great driving car this is. I would actually think that the modifications to the motor would scare most interested parties away, and it's only the few that are brave enough to take this on or know that Alex's reputation as an engine builder or a performance shop. But I just feel like when you do that much stuff to the car, it narrows the appeal. So that's why I'm saying 25. I think the car is worth probably 40 because you couldn't go replicate it for 25 or 30. It would cost you $40,000 to buy one and then have him build you a motor. I mean, there's a lot of money invested here.
That car behind him, that's caffeine right there. That's a car that's very famous. The 930 caffeine, that red car back there.
Man, have we done a DF film on that yet?
No. We were going to, but then he decided to rebuild the engine and get another 400 horsepower on top of the 1,000 that it had or something like that at the time.
Oh my goodness, yeah. So anyway, 25,000 is my bid, JP, and it's still a wicked cool value at that price, but probably worth more. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, if you combine that along with the fact that it has an accident on the report, I mean, this is a perfect driver. It's not going to bring a premium. What was your number? 25?
25, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go 26. I'm going to go strong on it just because Porsches are hot and it's a 911 and hopefully someone sees this.
You need to show that you bid up.
Yeah. if it's down if it's below 25, I might have to bid on this thing. That would suck.
Wouldn't it be funny to park that next to your GT3?
I know, right? I would love this powertrain in my GT3.
Oh my god! Then you'd keep that car. That's a keeper.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Very, very cool car. I'm definitely stronger on that.
How much does German Motors charge for a motor swap?
I don't know. Sounds like we're about to find out. Yeah. Right.
Is that like $13,995?
Oh my gosh! All right. What's the next car? What do you want to move on to?
All right. We're gonna go way off script here and look at a 1980 Jeep CJ7 Renegade. This is interesting, JP, because if I'm not mistaken, this is exactly the same version of the one that we covered about a month and a half ago. It was a white blue Renegade of the 3 motors, the exact same V8. This one has less miles and appears cosmetic.
Hold on. So I am going to just hop in here just for time. This isn't the same as the one. This isn't very close to the other one. It is the same car. The reason why I brought this car up, I wanted to have a quick discussion about this because, yes, we did review this car that auctioned off about 2 weeks ago. And this is a really interesting subject. I almost want to do a separate video just about this truck because what happened here is very significant to what we do here on Bid Nerds. This is your daily nerd on the most interesting cars of the day on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer. People come and ask us questions all the time about these platforms and what's the difference between one and the other and what happens in this scenario. You know, people have problems with their auctions and they call us for some reason like we're experts. We're not experts. We're just nerds. But something very interesting happened with this car. This car, if you recall, I won the prediction by betting over you because you were very soft on this thing. And I knew, okay, it's a Renegade, it's a Jeep. They're definitely hot right now. And it surprised both of us by, like, I think my prediction was somewhere like 21 or something like that. And yours was in the lower teens, and this thing wound up selling for $29,900 or something. Right. And it even blew me away. And I know that these are worth something, but I went back when I saw this car listed. I'm like, hey, isn't that the same thing? And I went back and looked, and it turns out that what happened with that original auction that we reviewed and talked about and made our predictions, it turns out that the person that bid 29 whatever 29 call it 29.5, that was, or it was $29,600, and the bid before his was $19,500. He stepped up $10,100, and everyone's like, well, that's a knockout blow. It was because the guy misbid. He screwed up. The person who made the bid typed in 20,100. He had or 29,100 when he meant to type in 19,600. And so he misbid by over $10,000, and it just completely stopped the auction. Everyone thought it was a massive knockout blow, which it would have been. Clearly, it stopped. I mean, nobody was going to bid that much. The car isn't worth that much, as nice as it is. So it just blew everything up, and everyone's like, "Now what do we do? What happens when someone accidentally bids too much?" In most auctions, you bought a car. You're on the hook for that. This, I'm not entirely sure what happened to the would-be buyer. I'm sure he was penalized. I'm sure he had to pay the premium, whatever, his 5% of the thing. He had to pay that based on his bid. And he's probably banned from the site and will not be able to bid again because he really screwed this poor guy. There was frenzied bidding. And I believe this thing still had, a ways to go before it would have ended. But it wouldn't have made $29,000. That's for sure.
Oh man, that's a bummer.
Yeah. So what's your take on that? I mean, someone bids accidentally.
Listen,
now what?
There is an adrenaline rush. There's a sense of urgency. And then, what winds up happening when you're bidding against other people is it activates something in a person, male or female. And it's competition, and you're trying to win. And it's very easy when competition and pressure builds that people who aren't used to competing at something or having that kind of Zen-like focus can kind of lose their head, and that's not uncommon. And so what's interesting is that you have to confirm your bid twice before you submit it. But I do empathize and have a little compassion for the seller and empathize with the bidder who misbid, that he just got caught up in the moment and made the same mistake twice to effectively set that price into motion and then screw up the auction because he wasn't going to perform at that price. So it's a bummer that happened. I feel mostly for the seller because
the seller got screwed. The seller didn't do anything wrong. The seller's just sitting there going, what do I do? I'm trying to sell my stupid car, and so man, this sucks.
And what can Bring a Trailer do for this seller? I mean, offer to pick up his bidding fee. I mean, that doesn't do anything. It's the buyer who pays the premium. And so if the buyer paid that premium in light of the mistake, to BAT and then is banned. BAT, they make their money. It's the seller, like you said, it's the seller who gets hurt. Plus, bringing this car back to market, it's burned. If I wasn't on the road yesterday, I absolutely would have looked this up to compare it to the other auction, and then I would have figured out that it was the same car. But I just, at a glance, the car just looked cleaner to me this time around. I don't know if we got new photos or just seeing it again, it was really interesting, but I'm not surprised. Yeah, I don't know. Really, really weird.
There are situations, and we've seen it happen on both Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer, where they've added time. Something has gotten screwed up. There's been a glitch in the system or whatever, and they've added another half hour or hour or something like that. So it is surprising that they didn't do that in this situation, but it was down to the wire, and you got to think that the auction guys there was a legit moment there where people were like, oh shit, this guy just wanted to knock everybody out. That could have been conceivable that someone's going, I'm going 10 over, I'm taking this car. I don't have time for screwing around with all you plebes. I'm owning this thing. Because it's not completely nuts that this car could potentially be worth $30,000 at some point. I don't think it is, but we've seen stranger things. That's for darn sure. A very interesting situation. So now that we know all that, where is it at right now, and where do we think it's going to land today?
Yeah, it's at $18,000. Okay. Not nearly as much action. It's only got 8 bids this time around, which is kind of a bummer. But it still has 4 hours to go. Yeah. Offered out of Golden, Colorado, on a New York plate, which is a little bit unusual. It does have a few little things: Mickey Thompson wheels and a 4-inch lift kit, and it's been repainted. But the V8 is kind of, I think, one of the rarer cars. I think most people probably prefer the 4 or the 6. So the V8's an interesting drivetrain for this, in my opinion. I don't know what you think. Listen, 29 was apparently ludicrous and out of the question. We were talking low 20s before. So, I am absolutely shooting in the dark.
I don't think it's ludicrous or out of the question. I just think that if the bids are sitting at somewhere around 19, they're climbing their way up to 20, and then you all of a sudden have this massive leap of 30%. Or more, then that just basically gets everybody that thing that you're talking about, that chemical that's floating around in people's head, that thing that's making people go, oh, get in that frenzy. That kills the frenzy because everyone's like, oh, well, I'm not in the running. It's one thing to be like, okay, I'm going to bid. This car, here's a Jeep. I'm only going to spend $15,000 on this thing. But then it gets to 16, and you've already bid 15, and it gets to 16.1. And you're like, what's another $100? And you keep creeping up that $100. And now that $100, you're at like 19.5, and you're like, oh, and then it gets bid to 19.6. You're like, oh, well, I'm not going to lose it for $100. I'll pay 19.7. And it keeps creeping up. And I could see this thing creeping.
Magic, that's the magic of the live auction. Yeah,
that's what makes an auction. But when you go from 19.5 to $30,000, everybody's out. So it is possible that this thing could reach the high 20s. It is a really nice Renegade Jeep that has been restored about as nicely as you can imagine as one of these done. But 29, I don't know. So where do you think it's going to land? I'm sorry to cut you off, but I did want to.
Not at all. No, I had put 28, not knowing it was the old car, and I do think that if there's that specific buyer or handful of buyers that would like a V8 Renegade that's been restored and pay a small premium. This is not a restoration. This is not an original car with just 4,000 miles on it. That would be $40,000, $50,000 if that were the case. Yeah. Even if you and I agree that this car should bring $28,000, $29,000 like it accidentally did last time, I wonder if there is the stigma that this car didn't sell, that somebody didn't perform, because not everybody's going to understand the story that you just explained to the audience. Yeah. So I think that's going to hold it back. So JP, I'm just going to take a real conservative tack here and say $25,000, wow. And it's because it got hurt last time. But my valuation for this car, looking at it a second time, would be that it's a $28,000 Renegade with that special package. And it's got some stuff on it, lift kit, it's repainted.
You're saying 25?
Nice. Yeah, 25.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like you're right that a lot of people probably wouldn't know about this, but if you're a real bidder, if you're someone who's actually going to bid this thing, one thing that you notice when you read the thing, it says this was for sale a couple weeks ago. the previous bidder failed to meet their obligations. And that's in blue. That's a hot link. You can click on that, and that will take you to the other place, to the old ad, and you can read all the comments there. And one thing that we always talk about that makes these platforms particularly interesting is the community, right? I've got to wonder if there is, in most situations, if a car fails to, if there's some kind of screw up in the end and the high bidder doesn't buy the car and the car comes back, people don't really know why. People's assumption would be, oh, the high bidder went out and looked at the car and found something wrong, or something was, so this car is burned here. I believe that this car, because it's very clear that what happened, that someone accidentally bid too high and didn't mean to, I think that this is a situation where the community, in good faith and in goodwill towards this poor seller who basically got screwed by no fault of his own, like you said, I think the community will come back. I think the people that are interested in this will come back. And I think that your bid is actually probably right on. I think this is about a $25,000 Jeep. I don't know if it'll quite reach that, and I am in a conundrum as to go over and under. And I'm going to bet the under because last time it only made 19.6 before we had that big blunder. I'm going to say 24. It's anybody's guess.
Very good.
Very interesting story, and this is the kind of thing, this is the risk that you run into when you sell a car on an auction site, unlike when you just sell it on the open market on like Craigslist or something like that. But a lot more interesting, isn't it?
It is. It's very interesting. And good. Yeah. Good take. That's really good. And I wish the seller luck. And I mean that sincerely. So,
all right, JP, interest of time, we got to move on on these last two cars. Let's move on.
Okay. So let's move over to P-Car Market real quick. We're looking at a 39,000 mile, 2005 Porsche 911 Carrera S with a 6-speed. Somebody inexplicably painted the brake calipers bright green. And for that reason,
nerd turd.
Sitting at $28,000 with like about 2 hours to go. Again, sub 40,000 mile car out of Miami, Florida. The car is offered by a dealer. We tend to promote the independent sellers, the end users. But I listen. This car with those wheels, JP. What are the name of these wheels? The Carrera Classics.
Yep.
Yeah. The 19-inch Carrera Classics. It's an S. It's a stick. It's gray, seal gray with black. I want this car, and I would change the brake calipers and fix that egregious error in judgment, and then I would enjoy the hell out of this car. I am really feeling these softer values on 911 S's, early ones. I think that they said that they addressed the IMS bearing on this car, if I remember correctly, but I did, because of we commuted 9 hours yesterday. I did very little research on the car, but there you go, JP. What do you think?
Do you know the name of the dealership? I'm curious about that.
His handle on here is at Porsche, but I don't know the name of the dealer.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, look, this thing doesn't have chrono. It's out of Miami, which is about the worst place in the world to buy a car from. This thing smells horribly inside. The green calipers, those three things really make me not want this car. It's got relatively low miles, but it's, again, this is an early 997, so I really kind of prefer slightly higher miles. I know I'm a broken record, but was the maintenance done? I don't know. I'm more scared of ones that haven't made it. Anyways, it really is the right combination of most things, except for the lack of chrono.
But it's also the worst combination of things with painted calipers and an aftermarket head unit. The car's in Florida. I can smell the Dracar Noir, the cheap cigars, and the sweat from the leather in the interior because of the humidity down there. I agree with you, and it seems like the community agrees with us. With less than 2 hours to go, JP. And on just 6 bids, although P-Car Market seems to do all of their work. They market these cars for a week, and then the entire auction takes place at close. Because this car is sitting at $28,000, and by all accounts, it should be close to $40,000 car. So it's interesting that a third of the auction value or more will happen in the closing minutes, which I'd say they do better than the other platforms. So anyways, John, I want to move to the next car quickly. So I'm just going to say that just based on merit, that the community might not read it the way you and I do. I think this car will still find $40,000. Do you think I'm wrong?
I don't know. I mean, look, it certainly doesn't deserve $40,000. We've seen similar cars, like you say, by the numbers, that have reached that much on P-Car Market. If this car were in California or Seattle or pretty much anywhere else, and Yeah, but I'm going to say 38. I don't think it quite makes it.
I think that's fair.
I mean,
okay. Let's jump over. I got a quick story to tell you about this last car, John. I know we're running long, but I do want to give this car its due. Last year at this time, I was still with Godin Porsche in Las Vegas as their classic car manager. And a young woman by the name of Heidi Snow Sinader, DM'd me on Instagram and said, "Hey, I see that you have a lot of air-cooled Porsches like on your Instagram or something." She says, "I have this 997 C4S that we're trying to sell."
A 997 C4S?
Sorry. 1997 993 C4S, and she said it's here in San Francisco and we're trying to sell the car. Can you help me out? So I gave her my email address at work, and then told her to send me all the information on the car. Well, of course, Godin, as they let everybody go a couple weeks after I got this message from her, they discontinued my email, and so I didn't think anything of it. I kind of forgot about it. The pandemic hit, and the last thing I was worried about was acquiring a car for a dealership I wasn't working for any longer. So here we go. A year later, she has put the car up for sale on her own on Bring a Trailer, and then sent me the listing as soon as it went live. And so I kind of reviewed it for her in our fashion and told her what I thought, and wished her all the luck, and told her if she had any questions to reach out. Very nice woman, living in San Francisco. We have a bunch of mutual friends on social media, which is really cool. But here we're looking at JP 47,000 mile example. This has been her daily driver, and she put 31,000 miles of the 47,000 miles on this car over the last 20 plus years.
Wow.
Living and working presumably in San Francisco. Now, JP, I know you're kind of from the country, but you spent time in Seattle. And I assume that Seattle is as rough on cars as San Francisco is.
Oh, yeah.
And this time frame in the 90s, when we got away from those big impact bumpers and we started painting, plastic to smooth out the front and rear of cars, San Francisco is just brutal to cars. When you parallel park, other people's license plate frames scratch your front and rear valances and stuff like that. And by all accounts, this car has a little bit of wear and tear despite the low miles because of regular use in and around San Francisco. And so initially, some people really got on her. She has an accident on her Carfax report, and there is a small impression in the sheet metal in the passenger rear quarter, and that impression is still there. The impact from her little accident is still there, and that's it. That's the extent of it. And so you've got this little scarlet letter on the Carfax, and you've got this little tiny dent that probably could, by and large, be mostly taken out with a really good paintless dent guy, without having to go and repaint the whole car. But she decided to just leave it alone. It didn't bother her, and she only uses the car from time to time, and so she just left it. I am happy to report that a lot of people in the BAT community came to her defense when people started to bang on her about bringing a car with an accident, and they said, "Hey, man, for every 1997 C4S that's out there, there's some that are perfect, there's some that are less so, and there's others, like there's a valuation for each one. Stop ripping her." And so the community has come to her aid and defended her, which I thought was really neat. So here we have a silver black 47,000 mile car with a small impression that you can decide to fix on your own. There is a mark on the Carfax, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with this car. And I think it's going to do well. I told her, I said, if this thing gets up to 80, 85, that's fair value, and I think your car is poised to do better than that. So anything over $85,000, I hope you're happy with. I never asked her what she wanted, so I don't know where her expectation. I still don't think the car will break 100,000. By all accounts, it could have been, or should have been maybe $15,000 to $120,000 car, somewhere in that range, if it were perfect. But it's not. It's just an honest offer driver's example of a very rare and collectible car, and should come, even if it doesn't break 100 grand, should come really close. What do you think?
Yeah, I love that it has the dent in there. I kind of, if I bought this car, I would just leave it. I mean, it's just like a red
Professor
badge of
Wood.
courage, right? Yeah, I mean,
totally.
It's just like it looks so good. I mean, the 993 C4 is maybe the best car of all time. I mean, it looks amazing. It drives amazing. It's good in almost every situation. There's nothing. I mean, I drove one when we made our TV show. We took that the one from Godin Porsche, the white one.
The white one,
and I put 5,000 miles on it and drove it from Vegas to Seattle to LA and everywhere in between for 3 weeks. And I had all our camera gear. I mean, we shot a television show out of a C4S. I think it's just the singles greatest car in the world. And the silver on black is. I'm stoked about this car. Love that it has a dent in it. You could just drive it and not care.
Quick question, JP. If you owned this car and put 31,000 Seattle miles on it, you lived right in the heart because she's right in the heart of San Francisco. The famous picture of the 7 Victorians with the skyline in the background? She's 2 blocks from that. Okay. So if you put 31,000 Seattle miles on your car over 2 decades, wouldn't you have a little ding in there somewhere just by accident?
Seattle and San Francisco are the same damn place. I mean, if you live in the city, it is just as bustling and horrible traffic and super steep hills and no parking. So everyone's just jamming in there and people don't know how to drive. So, absolutely. I mean, in fact, hers is pretty remarkably good shape considering how that kind of...
Original stereo, motor sound package. Even her suspension looks right. That car's sitting just right. 18-inch twist wheels, the red brake calipers, black leather with just a little bit of patina. I mean, I'm telling you, if things weren't so terrible for me last year, I would have tried to buy the car directly from her myself. I mean, this is a dream car.
She's got to be happy with these numbers at this point. With an hour to go, $80,000.
I hope so.
I mean, it's going to go.
I hope so.
Where's it going to land? Where's it going to go?
I think, Jay, so it's a 1997, and just for novelty's sake, I'm going to say Heidi's going to get $97,000 for her car. And I really believe that might happen. I just don't think it'll break $100,000, but you never know. I mean, it's great. And if I mispronounce your last name, please forgive me. Tell your husband not to kick my ass, okay?
I mean, there's an hour, just over an hour to go. Another $20,000 would be a long way to go, but with a Porsche with low miles, that's not uncommon. I'm going to go under. I don't think it's going to go 100. I'm going to say 95 because it is low miles and it's a C4, and that body work probably, like you said, with a paintless guy. What do you think that would cost? $1,000 to repair.
My guy Gabe in Vegas could make that go away. Remember what he did? JP, you and I went and looked at that Conda green car, and he made that dent disappear. He's a freaking magician. So a really good guy could handle most of that, and you'd be very happy with the results. So Heidi, best of luck to you and your family with the car, and thank you for reaching out. So there you go, JP. That's a day.
That is a Monday. Thanks, everybody. That's been a Monday edition of Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day on cars and bids and bring a trailer. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Hit the subscribe button, like button, notification, all those things that they tell you to say. We're going to be here every day of the week. It's Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish hour, live on YouTube and Facebook. Let everybody know that you're a fan of the show. Let us know what cars you want us to review in the future, and stick around. We've got some great guests. We've got Bradley Brownell from Rad for Sale as a third nerd on Thursday, and we're super stoked to see him. We might see a couple other people too. I know we've been teasing some other guests, but it's just scheduling.
Bradley Brownell is poised to be our first repeat offender third nerd.
It's true.
It's deplorable.
It's true.
I love it. Absolutely.
He's the best. All right, guys. He actually sent me a PM saying, I'll probably have to broadcast from a bathroom and when I read it, I thought he said a hospital bathroom. I'm like, oh shit, are you okay? But it was hotel bathroom. I don't know how I read hospital, funny. So he's fine. Yeah, he's fine. Funny. Bradley's fine. Don't let me freak out the internet.
Yeah, he's okay. That rash totally cleared up. The topical cream worked wonders. So
he didn't need to stay in the hospital very long for that. All right, you guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out.